So understanding how to convert your value proposition into a successful, sellable product and service, how to make the right design decisions to go from 10 to 10,000, like in the case of convergent technologies, starts with understanding the art, starts with understanding why so many businesses actually fail. In order to do that, I'd like to quote a study we already used in the former MOOC. It was conducted by two MIT researchers in the late 80s, so it might seem a little bit outdated, but most of the conclusions of that study still apply 100% today. The spectrum of the study, interestingly, is much larger than strictly technology ventures, which is our topic in the present MOOC. It covers all types of new products, new services launched by established organizations as well as startups. So that means you can actually probably emphasize even more a little bit the contrast and the results suggested by this study. The first outcome of that study is very simple. It was the average success rate of a confirmed project. So what you've got at that stage, a value proposition, a target, and addressable market. On consumer markets, the average success rate of a confirmed project into a successful venture is 19%. What does that mean? To make it simple, 19% is close from 20, 20% is 1 out of 5. That means that one project, one confirmed opportunity out of 5 will successfully be converted into a winning business, and 4 out of 5 will die along the way. On business markets, that successful rate is 27%. Same thing if you try to simplify that presentation, 27% is close from 25. That means 1 out of 4 on business market will successfully convert into a winning venture, and 3 out of 4 will die along the way. That should be, when you're going to start working on a project, pretty much the only ongoing thinking you should keep in the back of your mind. What makes me sure that my business belongs to the 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4, depending on the market, that will ultimately succeed on the marketplace. If we break down these numbers across the various stages of development of a venture, this is what we're getting. 50% of the idea will successfully get developed on consumer markets. Among the projects that successfully get designed and developed, 45% will successfully go through early market tests. And among the projects that are still alive at that stage, the likelihood of successful launch becomes 85%. These are conditional probabilities, which means that 50% times 45 times 85 will give you the compounded 19% on consumer markets. On business markets, it's basically the same structure. 57% of the project will successfully get designed and developed. Among these 57% that successfully get designed and developed, the likelihood of successfully going through early customers test interaction is 65%. And among the projects that successfully passed these two stages, the likelihood of successful launch becomes 74%. Same thing, these are conditional probabilities, so 57% times 65 times 74 will give you the compounded 27%. But interestingly, the study conducted by these two MIT researchers also tried to do something else, to look at failure not from the angle of the success rate, but from the angle of the profile. What are the big types of profile of failure you can observe? And this is what they came out with. In 28% of the cases, the failure will be called a trap. What is a trap? It's basically a product that no one buys. Like the Newton from Apple we talked about during last week is exactly a perfect example of a trap. It's a product that customers didn't buy. It doesn't mean there is no market for such a product. Later on, Palm demonstrated there was a market for PDA, but there was no market for the Newton from Apple. In 36% of the cases, the failure will be a me too. What is a me too? It's a marginal improvement over existing competitive product or service that gets killed by aggressive competition. 36% of the cases of failure fall into that category, me too product. In 7% of the cases, the failure will come from environmental related reasons. What does that mean? That it's something that is beyond your control as an entrepreneur. legislation changes, or a bad bud spreads around the world and kills your product, regardless of whether it's true or not. That explains 7% of the cases of failure. In 15% of the cases of failure, there is an engineering or quality issue. The product doesn't deliver, it doesn't do a good job in performing the task it was designed for, and it ultimately failed. And in 14% of the cases, failure comes from a price war. So established competitors just discount their offering, enter in a price war, and that kills the product. What's interesting in this classification that if you put aside environmental and bad products that are summing up to 22%, what that means is that in the remaining 78% of the cases, failure directly comes from market-related reasons. That's the big idea. Businesses fail not because of technology, not because of funding, not because of bad luck, because legislation has changed. Most of the businesses fail all for one very simple, very big reason: market, consumers, competition. In 50% of the cases, among the 78%, failure is explained directly by competition.